Okay, guys, welcome to our 7.5 notes video. Okay, so we are going to explore the confidence interval for the difference between two means, similar to what we did in the later half of chapter 6, where we were exploring the difference between two proportions. So now first, let's dive into the basics for this confidence interval. Okay, so in this, we're talking about the comparison between two means, which is a very common concept, right? Understanding who is taller, the boys or girls group. What is going to be a higher scoring group, the junior year class or the sophomore year class, right? Making comparisons between two different means and understanding, are these actually the same? Are they different? How significant is the separation between them? And that information is very common to want to know. Okay, so our mean expected value from unit 4, we saw that the expected value for the difference between two of them is just subtracting the two expected values. And you can also see this standard deviation calculation as calculated as like a geometric average, or it looks very similar to distance formula or Pythagorean theorem, right? Now, when we did a single sample mean, we approximated everything using X bar and the standard error, which was S over square root n, okay? Because we didn't have information about the populations. So here, you're going to see our confidence interval for the difference between two means. We're going to have x1 bar minus x2 bar. So what is the difference between the two sample means? Okay, remember x is the sample. Our standard error is going to look similar to that distance or Pythagorean theorem. We're going to have s1 squared over n1 plus s2 squared over n2. Now, remember, you may be used to thinking, oh, it's s over square root n, but when we square these, this is kind of how they come out in that final format. If you ever forget, remember, these formulas are available on the AP formula chart, so you can always find these on there. Now, the interval formula is going to end up being the same concept, right? We're going to use this setup where we look at our statistic and plus minus the critical value times the standard error. So this setup for confidence intervals is the same for each time. We're just using different quantities for critical value and standard error. Now, when we calculate the degrees of freedom in our T star, note that we have to use the smaller sample size, okay? We always try to constrain ourselves to the smallest n value if you have different sample sizes, okay? Now, when we follow our state plan do conclude model, we're going to cover all of these important details. Okay, so stating again, lead out with your parameters, your population means. So mean one minus mean two. What is the true difference in means for this group? Okay, calculate your x1 minus x2, your confidence level, how certain or what percentage are we using, and calculate that standard error. Okay. When we go to plan, okay, we want to check the criteria for both. Okay. So remember, that is our RIN criteria, the random, independent, and normal. Okay. Make sure we meet those conditions and make sure you name your test that two sample T interval. Okay. You can see in the do, I have CI equals X bar 1 minus X bar 2 plus minus critical value times standard error. And we use the T star formula as the inverse T function, the area, and we will use our degrees of freedom. Now, notice we do divide that confidence level by 2 because in this case, we are talking about it as though we're looking for a difference between the two means. So we are splitting the area between the two sides, okay? So this is area split for each side of the distribution. Okay, so if we were 5%, I'm splitting it into 2.5% for the low 2.5% values and 2.5% for the high 2.5% values. Okay, our conclusion will explore that a little bit more as we keep progressing here. Okay, now when we use our conditions, make sure that we check for the randomness, the independence condition where we are less than 10% of the population, and our normality condition. So remember, we can use the statement that it is normal. We can use the central limit theorem that if we have more than 30 in our samples, those would make it normal. We can say the dot plot looks normal, or worst case, okay, try to avoid this, we can assume that it's normal, okay? So these are all different ways we can meet this normality criteria, okay? And those should be fairly familiar. They're the same ones we used at the beginning of this chapter, okay? Our template for interpreting the confidence interval is here. We are blank percent confident. The interval from the low value to the high value captures the true difference of the mean in context, okay? So try to make sure you highlight those elements, those three, the confidence level, the two boundaries for your interval, and then the true difference in context, okay? The same things from proportions, okay? If your confidence interval is negative, P2 is greater than P1. And if your confidence interval is positive, then P1 is greater than P2. Okay. If 0 is in the interval, basically, if you have two different signs on the values, you can't conclude anything. Maybe you're bigger, maybe you're smaller, we don't know. We're just going to have to stick with knowing that the difference is within those boundaries. Okay. So that is kind of the introduction to making a confidence interval here. This should be very similar to what we did in 7.2 and 7.3, where we were doing confidence intervals with one mean. The only difference is now we're going to be x bar 1 minus x bar 2 for our statistic, and we'll have to calculate that standard error a little bit differently. But everything else is kind of following the same pattern. Okay, let's dive into a quick example. Here we have a sample of 42 fourth graders, and we are looking at their reading comprehension scores. Okay, they have a mean score of 75 out of 100, and the fifth graders, where we have a sample of 36 of them, will have a mean score of 84 and a standard deviation of 5. Okay, so with this, we're looking for, hey, are the fifth graders smarter than the fourth graders? Okay, and so what we would do is we're going to study these two and look at what their difference is. If we find a difference that is significant, we'll be able to determine one is better than the other, or we will find that we can't make that conclusion. Okay, so I'm going to start with our statement. First thing, population 1 is defined as our fourth graders, and population 2 will be our fifth graders. If the true difference between the points scored between the fourth and fifth grade, right, is going to be our difference in means, the mu1 minus mu2. Now, the confidence level, we're operating at 95%. Our x bar 1 is 75, x bar 2 is 84, S1 and S2 are 3 and 5 respectively. All of this stuff I'm going to highlight is all straight out of the problem. Okay, so you'll see this one, this one, this one, this one. All of these are straight out of the problem. Okay, now some calculated values here. Okay, so we've got x1 minus x2. Okay, the difference between our samples is -9, meaning right now sample 2 is larger than sample 1. And if we look at our standard error calculation, you'll see that's that geometric average formula or distance formula or Pythagorean theorem, however you have seen it before. And those are our calculated values for these two quantities. Now, we also went ahead and found the t star. Okay, so make sure you use that t inverse to look this up. Now, notice this area is half of the 5%, so 0.05 divided by 2, because our values are split between the two sides or the two tails of the distribution, okay? And my degrees of freedom is going to be 35, which is 36 fifth graders minus 1. So always based on the smaller n value. Okay. Now, in addition, once we have these key facts labeled, we're ready to dive into the plan section for this interval. Okay, so the plan section, we know one of the key things we should do is state what we're doing. Okay, so first let's check our conditions, and then we're going to address that this is a two sample interval. Okay, so down here. So first, randomness. We stated that the samples for fourth and fifth grade were taken randomly. We are independent because 42 and 36 are going to be less than 10% of the populations. And we are normal because both sample sizes are greater than 30. So we weren't able to get them from the statement, but we were able to say that both samples are greater than 30, N1 and N2, and therefore we are normal by the central limit theorem. Okay, so central limit theorem is again just saying that if you have more than 30, you can say that your spread will be approximately normal. Okay, now the two sample t interval. Okay, we can dive right into this using the calculator. We could just use the setup by plugging in the important statistics, or we can solve it by hand. I provided you both of these here so that you can see them. Please note there's an option for pooled and some other things in there. Don't use those. Make sure you leave that on no. Okay. So you'll notice we are slightly different within 0.02 of each other. That tolerance is accepted on AP exams or when completed by hand. We're going to look at both values and accept them as a correct answer. Okay. So once we have these low and high values, either by using the confidence interval formula on the right or by using the calculator to create that confidence interval, we can conclude. So with this confidence interval, we are 95% confident that the interval from negative 10.93 to negative 7.07 captures the true difference in mean between the fourth and fifth grade classes on their reading test. Now, can we draw some extra conclusions from this? Okay, I noticed that both of these numbers are negative. Okay, so we are making this claim right here. The confidence interval is less than 0. Therefore, the population 2 is greater than population 1. So the fifth grade group is scoring higher than the fourth grade group. Okay, and we can make a statement about that like down below. Since the entire interval is negative, we can conclude that the true mean score for fifth graders, population 2, is greater than the population 1, which is the fourth graders. Okay, so that is a worked example of a confidence interval. Now, guys, I went through this pretty quick in the interest of keeping the video short. However, the process should feel pretty familiar because the state plan do conclude model is the same way that we've been structuring all of our confidence intervals and hypotheses tests. The statistic and standard error calculations may look a little bit different, but remember, you can always find those in your formula chart. Try some of these yourself. Feel free to also go back through the video in case you missed anything while I was going through this example. Okay, good luck, guys, and happy studying.